because I want the neighbors to see.
Yeah.
Our favorite guy is High Pitch Eric.
Favorite whack pack?
Yeah, favorite. High Pitch Eric versus Speech Impediment Man. And these guys call Speech Impediment Man Speech. They've abbreviated by...
Speech.
What's your problem?
My innovation was to name the guy Speech Impediment Man and have him on the air. Their innovation is to call him Speech.
This fight, man, it's insane.
Medicated Pete has his own show on the Gonzo.
Oh, that's incredible.
They built some sort of business.
Hey, Howard, real quick before I go, can I plug my show on the Gonzo Podcast Network?
No. Why should I plug that?
You live by the gun, you die by the sword.
Are Eric's hunger pangs or like turning him into a violent beast?
Would you be so kind as let me promote my new show?
Ed, we're in the middle of a breaking news story.
All on the Gonzo Network?
The big network. Yeah. These guys have developed a whole network off of, what, the Whack Pack?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, good for them.
And we're back to the Balls from Ellwood show. This week we got a ton to cover. I got all kinds of different things to get to, but right off the bat, I actually want to talk about a very peculiar story I have seen in the news. Apparently there is a trend nowadays with younger generation, rather than wearing a condom for birth control, apparently something has become a trend. There's a company called, I hate to even give them credit, I think it's Jiffy Tip, but apparently what it is essentially you're getting a polyurethane glue and you're gluing the tip of your cock shut. So that seems to be the trend in birth control nowadays for kids, or for younger people. I personally am completely dumbfounded by such a thing. I don't understand why would you want to essentially put super glue on your penis and seal your dick hole shut. I don't understand, what fun is that? I mean, then you're not even, I guess when you ejaculate, it's not going anywhere but redistributing back up inside yourself. So really, what is the point? I can't imagine it would be comfortable. I can't imagine it would be fun. Like, how would you even bring that up? Like, what if you was on a date, XTina, and somebody decided to glue their dick hole shut? Like, what would you do?
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm out of here. What the heck is wrong with people? Like, why? How's that even healthy? And then if you're sticking it inside a vagina, isn't that going to get, like, gluey and sticky in there? Or does it dry for a bit? And then, yeah, I mean, I've personally never been a man who ejaculated, but that does not sound very fun, and it sounds extremely painful. So I feel like that takes the, point of having sex in the first place out of the whole equation.
Not only that, like, I think condoms kind of break the mood a little bit. Like, can you imagine, like, you're getting hot and heavy with somebody, and they're like, "Hold on, my dearest, I have to take this time to unwrap this package, take out this cleaning wipe off my penis, get out this polyurethane glue, get that directly over my dick hole, let that dry, and now I'm ready to rock and roll. Or, we're not rock and roll, honey. What do you think? I mean, are you all hot and bothered now? I mean, oh yeah, see, I mean, that's the thing that, like, I don't understand. I don't understand why this would be a more, preferable, measure of birth control. Like, is there anybody in my audience that has tried this? If you have, XTina and I would love to hear some enlightening on as to why this is the better option. And not only that, is it uncomfortable? Does it hurt? Like, you don't fucking ejaculate. It goes right back up inside yourself and it redistributes. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't, you need, if anybody in my audience is doing this, you need to either call in or, get a hold of me or send an email and explain. I just need to know somebody that does this and why they do it. It's so bizarre. But anyway, moving right along, cats. If you would like to donate to our show or many of the other fine programs we have here at the Gonzo Podcast Network, feel free to log on to www.gonzopodcastnetwork.com. You could even become a Patreon, which has lots of benefits. If you like our programs, there would be lots of benefits, and we would surely appreciate it. So I would like to share with you cats, I got a really good bootleg of their new song, Unheavenly Creatures. So I'd like to share it with you cats, so tune in. This is Coheed and Cambria doing live their new single, Unheavenly Creatures. Hope you like it. Check it out.
Sweet from your
Hey, we're back, cats. Welcome back to the Balls from Ellwood show. Actually, today I got something very strange and weird I'd like to talk about. I read a very interesting article on the internet. I just wondered what you cats would do in this given situation. There was a younger broad in an American airline flight, or I should say United Airlines, and she ended up sitting there, and the guy next to her starts beating off. Meanwhile, she puts up with this for an extended period of time. I mean, the dude was beating off under a blanket, like it makes it any better, But she ends up catching the dude on video. Even she alerts the flight attendants, and they really kind of don't make a big deal about it. They just are like, "Oh, we can move you to another seat." Well, fucking of course I want moved to another seat. If I was a chick, I wouldn't want to sit there next to a dude cranking his dick off. What about you, kids? I just thought it was very weird. But then the weirdest part about it is the rest of the flight, the crew starts kind of making light about it to her, like said, "Oh, what kind of perfume were you wearing? You're getting them all riled up," and shit like that. So the funny thing is like she really got no satisfaction. She tried writing the airline, and nothing really came about it, and until it became kind of like a viral thing. So like now, of course, they're swooping in, and she actually asked for a refund on her ticket, which they declined. And then once it became viral, and then all of a sudden, like they want to refund half her ticket now. I mean, I think if you're stuck on a flight next to a dude beating his dick off, I think they should probably just give you your whole money back. I mean, that's just me. But I mean, I can't even imagine like if it was the other way around. Like if I was there in a like a chick started fucking flicking her bean next to me. Like I think I would be equally as disturbed, and I would surely want to be moved. So I don't know. Like, what do you guys think? I think it's a very weird thing. XTina, what do you think about this? Very weird story, right?
I mean, what's weirder about it is this is probably far more commonplace than anybody realizes. Having worked in the airline industry for many years, I've heard a lot of stories. I have a lot of friends that are flight attendants. I'm sure that they can tell you that this is, unfortunately, a more common incident than not. Just people hide it better than others, from what I understand. But yes, ultimately, if you are sitting there as a passenger and you realize, like if I'm sitting, and again, where's he sitting? Is he on the window and you're in the aisle and there's a middle seat open? And I mean, it's still uncomfortable, but if he's seriously like in the middle seat and you're like smack dab next to him, you know how close you are on an airline seat? I don't want nobody like grabbing their junk and jerking it off next to me. Oh my God, that's so gross. So yeah, absolutely I would want moved. And I mean, they can't, reroute the flight because of a guy jerking his dick off, but I mean, they can surely reprimand him in some way. I would think that would be necessary. And to poke fun at her, or not, they weren't poking fun at her, but to make light of it, again, that just goes to show you how probably common it is that they're so sort of, I guess, immune to it that they don't even think about it. That would be my assumption. I wish I could call up a couple of my flight attendant friends now and ask them. That'd be make for an interesting interview. But anyway, yeah, I think it's really gross and disgusting, and sadly more common than one would think.
Well, that just goes to show you, even if you're an airline, you can control the situation, but you really can't take matters into your own hands. But anyway, moving right along. I actually a while back, cats. I think it was before before Gonzo took a hiatus. My last show that I believe you guys heard was with a good friend of ours. He was a tattoo artist named Steve Witt. He had a little tattoo place in Bentleyville, PA called 402 Tattoo Company. And he actually needs our help. So if you cats wouldn't mind logging onto o-rbest.com, would you please nominate his business? That would really help us out, man. You just have to go to nominate business and then go to services, and then there's a little thing for tattoo parlors. Just type in 402 tattoo and vote for our buddy Steve Witt, man. He's going to be coming back here soon. He has tons of great stories. There was in fact a time where he was a roadie, and he had tons of great stories coming up, so he'll be returning soon. If you would not mind, go and vote for him. That would really help him out. He's a friend of the show. And other than that, we got all kinds of great shit coming up. I got all kinds of great guests coming up. Things are really coming together here, so I'm glad you cats are tuning in. I'm glad everybody's kind of digging what we do. We've gotten so many great compliments from so many great people these past few weeks. It's really been a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to do the show. So it definitely does something for the old the old ego. It makes me very happy that you cats enjoy what XTina and I do, and we do work very hard to try to entertain you and make you guys happy. So that being said, speaking of XTina, you know her, you love her, you love that Depravity Corner, and we're gonna have her in right now. And I tell you what, I got a little sneak preview of this one, and I know I say it every week, but this one is going to shake you to the core, cats. This is the most depraved and disturbing story I've heard in probably since last time she was here. So, XTina, yeah, take it away. It's all yours.
Oh, why, thank you, folks. Yes, so here we are once again with some depravity, and I'm not going to. Well, I don't know how to start this. I'm gonna save the real punch for last, and tell you about this family in New Orleans who it all starts out with a 22-year-old autistic woman who unfortunately lost her mother a couple years ago. Her mother passed away, and the mother was her primary caretaker. Apparently her autism is fairly severe, to the point where she still needs 24-hour round the clock care at age 22. So her mom took care of her. Unfortunately, her mom passed away, and she was left with 5 family members who chose to abuse her. And I mean, not just smack her around a little. I'm talking, they left her, tied to a cage, locked outside in a tent. They started having her clean the house, first with a toothbrush, then with her hands, and then at one time they threatened her to, I guess they would not feed her, they would withhold food and water from her, and in order for her to obtain this food and water, they made her clean the house with her tongue. So yeah, these are some really sick people doing this to their 22-year-old's autistic relative. Doesn't quite exactly say how they are related. I believe maybe they're, sisters, cousins, uncles, that sort of thing. But they would, lock her in the backyard in a cage. Eventually it got worse and worse. They would beat her, threaten her with guns. They started selling her into like sex slavery. I don't know about, they would just have people come over and let them do what they will with her. The man, I assume he's maybe the uncle, was stealing all of her disability money, taking all her disability checks and using them for himself, for whatever purposes. It's just another thing I'm seeing here. They forced her to use meth, and they threatened to turn her in to police for doing drugs if she did not obey their orders. I just don't know how sick you can be. She I mean, this poor girl. But if that's all not, bad enough that they're doing this to you, and these are, people who are supposed to be taking good care of you, and her poor mother, is gone and doesn't know what they're doing to her. The ultimate of the depravity in this case is they poured her mother's ashes into a bowl with water and made her eat them while laughing at her. Yeah, folks. These are your sick, twisted fucks that, if convicted, they get 5 years of jail. 5 years of jail. Yep. How do we feel about that? That's a little flippin' ridiculous. These people they basically need to suffer a slow, horrible death. What do you think, Balls?
Oh, I've got lots I think about this particular case, XTina. Every week, I know I've said this 100 times, again and again. You come in here, and I never think that you could possibly shake me more than you did the week before, but every time you successfully do, this particular thing nauseates me. It actually affects me emotionally. Like, I can't even handle hearing shit like this half the time, because I think I relate myself to the victim. And like you think, how the fuck could somebody possibly have dealt with this? And I mean, it's a horrific tragedy. I don't understand how people could possibly do such a horrific thing, especially somebody that's supposed to love and care for you. I mean, you're it's a relative that you trust. I mean, just the whole family's in on it. It reminds me of that Ketchum book, The Girl Next Door, and an equally grisly and powerful film as well. But I mean, it's sad and it's disgusting. Like, I can't even imagine treating anything like that, whether it be an animal or a person, or it just has to show you that you're devoid of any sort of soul or any sort of couth or any sort of emotion or anything. You're pretty much a sociopath. But I think the biggest and most horrible tragedy in this whole event is our judicial system. I mean, going back and forth, I mean, I've you see the same kind of similar thing in these cases. Like, I know people that's went to jail longer for smoking fucking weed. Like, a plant that grows in the ground, and they're in jail way longer than people that fuck somebody's life up and abuse and physically torture somebody. And that's fucking ridiculous to me. Like, I think our priorities are definitely out of whack and definitely not correct. I mean, yeah, our jails are cluttered with tons of people that are just unnecessarily there. I mean, they should be making jail cells for fuckers like this, like not people that smoke weed and other incidentally retarded, stupid things that they're in jail for. I mean, this is what jail is for people to torture and murder and rape and kill, not fucking, people that might light a joint once in a while. It's ridiculous. But, yeah, I don't even, this one's got me so fucking just distraught. I mean, I can't even imagine how bad you'd have to be as a person to even treat somebody like that. And the joke is, like, I mean, with good behavior, these fuck faces will be out in probably 3 years or less, and they're just gonna go do it again to somebody. I mean, it's just a horrific tragedy. I mean, I don't even know. I just feel like I'm repeating myself, and I'm just so fucking emotionally fucked up on this. I hate hearing shit like this, and it bothers the shit out of me. Like, I don't read the news, I don't watch a thing. That's why I limit myself to hearing these every week. In fact, that's about, as you cats know, how this came up. It's just a sick, fucked up, evil world, and it's not getting any better. And, like, I mean, I was just earlier this morning flipping through Facebook, and I had seen in our area on KDK News, there was 4 kids live streaming fucking torturing one of their friends. Like, this epidemic of people committing their crimes and doing horrific fucked up shit and streaming and going live. I would like to take all them, and I'd like to torture them and kill them and murder them live on Facebook. The punishment just no longer fits the crime anymore. And I definitely think we need to bring back, the death penalty. I think I'm a strong believer in the death penalty. I believe we should have public executions. I mean, XTina brought up a good point to me the other day. I mean, places like Singapore and places like that, they don't have these issues. You want to know why? Because if you litter in the street of Singapore, they'll fucking cane you. If you steal something in Singapore, they'll cut your fucking hand off. No question asked. Do you know how much crime's in Singapore? Not very much. So that right there should tell you. I think we need to get stricter, and we're just too loose as a country. So I mean, do you have any closing thoughts, XTina? I can rant all day about it. It just gets me so fucking pissed.
Yeah, so I just decided, because I'm a weirdo and creeper, I decided to creep on these people who did this, and, they're just so sickening. They're on Facebook, all hugging and loving their family, and they look like, white trash, clearly, but, and they have 550 kids with, a bunch of grandkids that they can't afford and probably sponging off the government systems and all that. Yes, I'm judgmental. I don't give a shit. Because it's true and you know it. But, they look all happy, and this woman has a memorial about her mother. And, how sweet is that? Little does this poor woman know that she made her daughter eat her. I mean, how it just doesn't get more fucked up than that. And it's hilarious. You look at this Facebook page and you see, all these young kids. There's all these babies involved. I don't know what's going to happen to these babies. I just hope these people go to jail for a very long time and don't get out and aren't able to hurt anybody else, because this is just beyond sad. I can't even comprehend it. So God bless this woman and that poor girl who had to go through this, and hopefully she gets into the right system. I mean, see, that's what government systems are made for. People like this. If you don't want to take care of your family, that girl would have been better off, and I'm sure she could have gotten, state assistance to be in a home for mentally challenged people or something like that. That's what it's for, people. Put them in there. Don't feel bad about doing that. I'd rather you do that than, torture your family.
I couldn't agree more. And, it's funny, as I sit here every week, I just put this observation together. Did you ever notice that, these white trash motherfuckers, they can't even afford to, feed themselves? They can't even afford to feed others or, take care of themselves. Always have 600 fucking animals that they can't take care of either. Yeah. The thing that pisses me off is, it's one thing if you don't want to take care of, your kids. I mean, that's horrific in and of itself, but a helpless fucking animal, they always seem to have fucking 40 of those running around that they can't feed, and then they're all over the place, and then that's something that can't be helped. I just fucking, this whole stupid thing got me fucking pissed. And I'm gonna rant and rave, and it's just, what the fuck is wrong with this world? Every single day I get up, and you have to have some sort of fucking shred of, wow, you get up and you're I'm like, wow, today you got to be positive in some way. God damn it, this shit makes it fucking hard. It's just I feel like fucking Kane and Kung Fu sometimes, man. It's such a fucking wicked world we're walking around in. But I mean, against all my good judgments, I mean, there is certain things that you do come across, and it sort of makes you think hey, you know what, maybe all that shit it balances out, because there is very good things in this world that makes you feel positive. But I wish there was more of that. But I don't know. I'm done ranting and raving to this. You definitely tipped the fucking scale this week. You elicited a good response for me, for sure. And surely, definitely, I'll be thinking about this all week, and my blood pressure will probably only hit about 7,050. So, but that being said, moving right along, cats, we got a couple more things to get to before we close this particular show. As you heard me last week on the Howard Stern show, I actually had, and I feel, a very good call to the show. I was actually calling in to defend one of my favorite directors, and I've always followed his career. I've loved him since his Trauma days. James Gunn. I'm sure everybody listening, I'm probably heard that call. But I actually called in thinking, for some weird reason, I honestly thought maybe Howard would not be so inclined to defend James Gunn. But I was glad that he did. Like, he actually realized that, like, the things he did was from 10 years ago, and the whole thing's ridiculous. So, I mean, that being said, I mean, James Gunn, what people don't seem to understand, I'm glad I could talk to you cats in depth about it. I mean, I had a pretty long call to the show, but I'm glad I have this forum to actually talk a little longer and more in depth about it. James Gunn came from a little company called Troma. He wrote Romeo and Juliet. He's one of my favorite directors in the world, Lloyd Kaufman. He helped him writing, and he came up. That was his stepping stone. He actually, a lot of people don't realize Troma has been big stepping stones to a lot of directors, a lot of writers, a lot of well-known actors. I mean, I can name a ton. Kevin Costner, Marissa Tomei. Now you have your Julie Strains, them softcore kind of people. You had Carmen Electra. I mean, I can name a ton, but that's kind of getting beside the point. The point is, Disney fired James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Everybody that I know goes and sees and loves these films because they are fans of fact of him and his type of humor and his his skills and mindset. So I mean, that being said, I've always thought Disney to be a corrupt and vile and villainous company to begin with, but after this pretty much made me hate them altogether. This was definitely a nail in the coffin, and here's why. I mean, I never got to get this thought out when I was on the air the other day, but a buddy of mine a long time ago turned me onto this book, and it was called The Mouse Betrayed, and it was about all the corruption that the Disney company does and gets away with. And I mean, I grew up on Disney. I mean, I think everybody has. They've been one of those companies where, I mean, you think it's safe for your kids, and it almost becomes like a built-in babysitter, and like it's a fun family thing. It's become that kind of way. But I mean, sadly enough, I hate to say that that's really not the case. I mean, as you get older and you see how things work, and this book alone, if you could read this book and still have any sort of respect for Disney, I'd be highly surprised. I mean, and this book came out in 1990, which means I can only imagine the villainy and the crazy bullshit that they get away with now. I mean, but I'll give you a few examples. I don't want to completely, I don't want to bore you to death, but I mean, the shit that they get away with is insane. I mean, and it just goes to show you, when you're a corporate elite like this, same with like any of your kind of places. Like, I watched a documentary once about Walmart, and I mean, they're really no better. I mean, all these big corporate elites throw money at any given situation, and it goes away. So I mean, but Disney, they're just a different animal entirely. I mean, they have so much power and so much money at this point that, I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't stop them. They're almost they're almost overtaking everything. I mean, just for instance, I mean, look, they bought out the Star Wars franchise. They have the Marvel Comics franchise now. They have so much, and I mean, not only that, their parks. I mean, I consider their parks, even when I was a kid, and I knew of none of this shit going on. Like, I always thought that their parks were definitely exploitation to the highest degree for children. And here's why. Like, I'd always, as a kid, my grandpa always had dreamed to take me to Disney World, and I've always been a movie dude. Like, I was more excited to maybe go to Universal Studios, which I did, but his dream was to take me there because when he was a kid, it was the place that it professed to be. So I was excited to do that with him, but it's just, they make it so goddamn expensive, and I don't feel like you should have to bankrupt your family for a fucking year just to take them to a vacation, and that's terrible to me. So I mean, it's funny, after James Gunn, the whole James Gunn debacle, I had spoke my mind on Walt Disney's Twitter, and it's funny. I'm glad I actually did. But the funniest part about it is, probably within a good 35 seconds, my tweet disappeared. So I mean, that just goes to show you how how on overtime they're working, man. To try to look as squeaky clean as possible. I had made the remark on their. Yeah, I mean, they constantly bombard my Twitter with these advertisements. And after that, I was pissed about James Gunn, so I spoke my mind. I had said, I think it's funny that the world's biggest exploitation of children machine that you call a park can draw any sort of shade on anybody, being that you're like the dirtiest company in the world. And 35 seconds later, man, that shit was like it never existed. So I mean, that just goes to show you how how much power, influence, and how on top of the game they are to kind of maintain that reputation, man. But I mean, that being said, I want to get back to this book. I'd like to give you some examples of why they are in fact disgusting, and it's funny because I'm thinking maybe this is just a smear campaign, maybe. But apparently it's from these two people that used to work there as a husband and a wife. So I'd actually started doing a little investigation and asking around people that I know and people that used to work there. And I have to say, I've talked to several people, and several people that's actually worked with them or had people, family, friends, loved ones work for them. And pretty much everything that I was curious about, they pretty much verified that, yeah, you're pretty much right. All this crazy shit does in fact go on. So, I mean, here's one in particular. I think here's the one, I mean, I could go on all day, but these are in no particular order. But, like, say you had an injury or an accident, which you're, with your family, and you're staying at, Disneyland, Disney World, those kind of places. It's, they're such a gated community, they control everything. So they don't want any negative publicity. So say you get into an accident, there's an injury, and you dial 911 anywhere inside of their park. Your call does not go to 911. It actually, in fact, gets rerouted to, one of their top people. And then they weigh if your situation is, in fact, quote unquote, bad enough to actually call 911. That, I think, is bullshit. I mean, if I had a family member that got seriously hurt and they deemed it wasn't serious enough and they end up dying or become permanently disabled, I don't know what I'd do. I think I'd probably kick that mouse right in the dick. So I mean, I think that's very shitty. That's very bad business. And I mean, this is a string of, this is why I think Disney is the dirtiest, evilest, vilest, wretched cocksuckers on the planet. So, I mean, and not only that, it's funny because they're worried about shit that James Gunn said in jest. And, I mean, were they tweets and jokes in poor taste? Yes. But, I mean, as you've heard me say on the show several times, people say fucked up shit, when they try to make people laugh. I don't want to be in a world where people can't joke anymore. I mean, whether it's in poor taste or, bad. I mean, it's a joke. I don't believe James Gunn, the remarks he made. He's a pedophile. I don't believe that, he makes jokes like that and he's in the little boys. He's trying to make people laugh as a joke. I don't believe he's ever fucked a kid in my life. I mean, anybody that talks to him vouches for his character. I mean, there's nothing creepy about him. I mean, he's just he's a dude that likes to jug blue. I mean, I say a lot of dumb shit in this show. I have yet to fuck a kid, nor do I want to fuck a kid. So, I mean, there you go. So, I mean, that being said, not only that, another interesting thing I read in this book was, if you're in your Mickey outfit, Pluto outfit, whatever the fuck it is, and you happen to become deceased on your shift, nobody is going to come in and retrieve you there until the end of the shift. More or less, they don't want to cause a scene. So they pretty much just weekended Bernie's your ass. They kind of just will sit you there, prop you up and until they could get to you after the shift, and then you. So I think that's highly creepy. I mean, but I mean, I guess I sort of could kind of get that though. I mean, you don't want the stretcher to pull up and fucking front of a bunch of little kids and they're gonna haul a dead Mickey Mouse off. I mean, I could sort of, I could sort of rationalize. As comical as it is, and not only that, I mean, in this book they pretty much say the only people that they will not hire is known people that have stolen, like kleptomaniacs, or other than that, if you have a history of being a sexual predator, if you have a history of violence, you have a history of, Megan's Law, that kind of shit, they'll say, come on in, motherfucker, we'll hire you. But if you, have a history of any sort of stealing, that's the only thing that they won't welcome you in for, man, because, they don't want you dipping out of their pockets. So, I mean, that I find interesting. I mean, I read, in fact, there's many instances where they have problems with, like, there's Disney princesses getting dressed and they're naked, and the people will be cutting holes in the wall and, like fucking Norman Bates and peeking on them and recording them and shit. And there's been several instances of that's been reported, and they just, I end up paying these people off. There's been, just, I guess apparently I read in there that it is the most, they have the most amount of injuries a year, but you don't ever hear that because, they're definitely paid off. So, I mean, and that I do believe, because it takes me back to when I was younger and I did in fact visit Disney World. I had wanted to ride Space Mountain more than anything. So we had went, I'm like, Space Mountain Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain Haunted Mansion. I was so excited. So I get there, and they have the Haunted Mansion closed for renovation, which I was super duper bummed about. So I'm like, at least I get to still ride Space Mountain. So go to Space Mountain, and it's closed. And I thought that was strange, and there was really no reason why. So we had ended up going to dinner that evening. And the waiter even, this was fucking when I was 17, man. I'm a 42-year-old man now. And even back then, they were fucking crooked. So, I mean, I remember going to dinner at night, and we were telling them about how I was disappointed because I couldn't ride that. And they said, oh, well, that was because, 4 people got killed today. I guess it derailed or something. And they had it closed for, I think it was 3 days, 4 days, till they could figure out what they were doing. But apparently they paid the family off. It's like they're like judge, jury, and executioner, man. There's no going to court. They bring them in there right in there whenever a tragedy happens, and there's the fucking, they have their everything in house. So I mean, and when a tragedy happens, you're not in your right frame of mind. So I mean, I think that's very ghoulish, and they're taking advantage of families when they're not even in the right frame of mind, So I mean, very fucked up, very disgusting. I mean, I can go on all night, man. I mean, they violate all kinds of different, according to this book, they violate all these different laws and ordinances, and they just throw money at it until it goes away. I mean, this is all, this is all my opinion. This is all things that come from this book. Like I said, we're talking about a book now. It's called The Mouse Betrayed. It's about the corruption of Disney and how they like to exploit and corrupt children. So I do solemnly agree. It's funny because I stand back now and I watch, and it's so evident to me because I watch how much everything's marketed to. I mean, my stepdaughter, she eats it up like candy. You can't escape Disney. They play everything in your head. Yeah, they're in your fucking, they're in your music. They're in your television. They're in your music. They own all our film companies. It's kind of scary, really. They're definitely a monopoly for sure. But not only that, I mean, you have, they have their hands in so many different things. But I mean, the thing that nobody seems to address is I mean, they were, I consider them to be a big proprietor of, of racism. I mean, their films, their early films, definitely have some, kind of some racist undertones. I believe. I mean, I don't believe they're, I don't believe that they're, I mean, it's definitely weird. Like, I mean, you can't even find a copy of Song of the South now. That's probably, easily one of the most racist, racist Disney films I've ever seen. I mean, you can't find it no more because they don't want you to see it no more. They don't, they want to pretend that it never existed. But back then, their movies were very, very politically incorrect, believe it or not. And, so, I mean, there's like no mention of that. If you was to even go to like the Disney World or Disneyland today and mention that, I guarantee they would be like, they would play dumb. They have no idea what you're talking about. But, yeah, very racist, always weird undertones. I mean, not only that, I mean, it's funny because when I was younger, there was a big scandal because there was writers that got blamed, but they'd always include some weird hidden masked, like whether it be sexual or some sort of weird hidden shit in their whether the box art or their films. And I always wonder if that was intentional or they just blame these dudes. I had heard it was these dudes and they were disgruntled with Disney, so they did it on purpose, and then they got caught and got fired. But I almost wonder if it was it's just Disney and their weird fucking weird way they conduct shit. Like, I mean, they're such a weird, corrupt company. I almost wonder, because I've seen several. In the early version of Aladdin on VHS, I hear clips. You can see all this shit on YouTube if you type in hidden Disney sex stuff. Like, it should come up very easily. And Aladdin, like when Aladdin's climbing up to the princess's balcony and Raja the tiger growls, you hear clearly good teenagers take off their clothes. And I used to hear when I was a kid, I heard it play this day when I had the tape. I always thought it was really strange. There was one instance in the box art of the Little Mermaid when it came on video. There was a big dick drawn into the castle, which was plain as day. That's worth a ton of money now. My buddy Jimmy actually has a copy of that. In the Lion King, there's a part where Simba, he's a kind of a grown tiger now, and or lion, I should say. And he goes up and he puts his neck down on his crest, and the billow of smoke comes out and spills into the sky sex, and that's plain as day. I had paused that. I mean, you can see all this shit on the internet, on YouTube. They point it out, they freeze frame it for you, and that's just the ones I can think of off the top of my head. So, I mean, you be the judge, cats. I can't no longer respect Disney. I mean, I grew up on it. I always, so a lot of their early stuff will still be beloved to me, but I can no longer get behind and back a company that has such, bad business sense and bad, no morals or no integrity or, just to do the shit they do. So I can no longer back Disney. I feel they're a foul and venomous company, and I strongly urge everybody else to stop buying their shit. I mean, not only that, I mean, if they really give a fuck about kids, when you go to Disney World, the ticket wouldn't be $100 some. Food there wouldn't be $20 for a goddamn cheeseburger. I mean, they know families don't have a lot of money, so I mean, it's fucking bullshit. So I mean, I think we need to show these fuckers that we need to knock them down a peg or two. And if they see that, like, people come together and they don't buy their shit as much, or there's a dip in the thing, maybe I don't know, just maybe it'll change something. I'd like to believe that could happen, but I think they have such a stranglehold on everything. I mean, it's a very grim and bleak outlook, cats. But all I have to say is I just wanted to share that with you, and more or less, I wouldn't even want to see James Gunn go back to Disney. I don't feel like they even deserve to have a talent like him. I would like to see him go and do other things, and I have no interest in seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 3 without him, so I hope everybody else feels the same and, boycotts that film and show these fuckers what's what. So, this is Balls from Ellwood. Other than that, what do we have gotten up here? I mean, I'm done. Hashtag fuck Disney. That's all I'm trying to say. That's my opinion. I'm hoping the black vans won't, pick me up in the middle of the night and Mickey Mouse shoves a shampoo bottle in my ass or something. But other than that, we're coming to the close of the show here. Trying to tell you what I have in the pipeline coming up. As I've been talking about for a while, I'm actually going to be interviewing Michael Graves from the Misfits here shortly. I have an interview with Steve Jackson from the Pie Tasters coming up, and most importantly, I have a big interview in November with Doyle of the Misfits coming up. So I'm super excited about that. Other than that, I got some other things in the pipeline here. But before I go, I would like to take a few moments, and I would like to thank Agent Jim. I'd like to thank Serial Killer Jack. I'd like to thank Jeff Henson for having me back to the network here. He's always been a great dude to me, and I have no problem being loyal to people that treat me well. I just want to thank Jasmine St. Clair for hopefully being a good sport. Yeah, I'm glad. I like where this network is going. I see us flourishing and growing. And not only that, cats, I think I have the big announcement. I'm actually going to be going here in the end of August. I'm going to be going to Indianapolis for Horror Hound, and I'm finally going to get to meet my the legendary Bruce Campbell. I've loved him since I was a kid. I'm looking forward to that. I'm taking my stepdaughter to meet Robert Englund. I met Robert Englund when I was a young kid, and I never got a picture with him, so he was a really cool dude. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again. And I'm gonna talk to William Zabka from Cobra Kai, hopefully. And hopefully I'll be able to, I'm hoping to hopefully get some of these people to, to rap with me. If not, it's just going to be a cool experience. So, other than that, tune in next week. We're going to have more depravity, more hijinks, and, best of all, more balls. So, I love you, cats. Feel free to email us at wendychops1976@gmail.com. If there's anything you would like to talk about, any topic you'd like to suggest, or, if you just want to write in and say, go fuck yourself, that's where you need to go to do so. I would love to hear from you. Other than that, cats, have a great week. Peace and love. Peace and love. I'm going to leave you with a little tune here by the great Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson. We just went to see the Twins of Evil tour, and they came out and they actually did live Helter Skelter. So I think this is a cool way to end the show. Check it out. Other than that, I will see you cats next week. Tune in next week for the Balls from Ellwood show. Peace and love, cats. Enjoy.
You
funny how, like, people are on Facebook like Benji, and they go right on.
Facebook Live.
But one day we're going to invent that.
Periscope. Everybody. High Pitch Eric has a show.
High pitch, I can see him in living color. Funny side note, yes.